Very good. All right. Well, welcome to the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum and tonight's 13th annual Rebecca Lukens Award presentation. I'm Scott Houston, the president of the museum, and I'm just happy to see all of you here tonight. I really want to welcome all of you here tonight as we celebrate tonight's recipient, Sandra Momyer. But at the beginning, I would like to invite Eric McAdams from the Coatesville Bible Fellowship Church to just say a few words and lead us out with an invocation. So, Eric. Scott. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation to be here this evening. I grew up in Coatesville and was confessing to someone a little earlier that I did not care about its history as much when I was growing up. I've always liked history. It just seemed like there was more interesting history in other places. But now, as an adult, someone working here on behalf of the community and the city, raising my family here, the history that's here suddenly is very vibrant, very interesting, and I've really enjoyed even the time here this evening. Getting to see some of this, read, and learn a bit. I'll be back. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Would you bow your heads and your hearts with me? Let's ask the Lord's blessing, not just on tonight, but on what comes after. Heavenly Father, your word says that you have placed us in the time and in the place where we would be born so that your will could be accomplished in our lives, so that we could seek you, find you, be found by you, and have your Spirit work not just in but through us to have an impact in the places where we are. I thank you for this city. I thank you for this community. I thank you, Lord, for the people represented here, the history represented here, the service represented here. I thank you, God, that your character, your image is represented in so much of what will take place and what has brought us even to tonight. Father, I pray that your blessing, your favor, your glory would be evident tonight. I pray that your blessing would be on the people who are here, that what takes place tonight would continue to draw people together, to celebrate what is good in us that comes from you, and continue to give vision and hope for a future that sees the benefit of all people for your honor and glory. We ask all of these things in the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very great.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. We have always a little business to do up front. It's just want to take the time to thank our sponsors, Pico Energy, lead sponsor, Coatesville Savings Bank, Hers, Wegmans, Peter and Ruth Nunn, who couldn't be with us here tonight, as well as C3 TV for broadcasting tonight's event to the audiences that are online and couldn't be with us here tonight. Really, without their help tonight, we really wouldn't be possible. It takes a great team. I would also like to recognize then, just briefly, the Rebecca Lukens Award, the committee members listed on the back page of your program. So hopefully I don't miss anybody, but in case I do, I'm sure someone will let me know. Dad, Charles Lukens Houston III, Jean DiOrio, Leanne Zolovich, our Educational Services Manager, Jim Ziegler, Executive Director, Sharon Tandrich, who does a great job as our Property Manager, as well as Susanna Brody, a.k.a. Rebecca Lukens, Steve Cunningham, Martha Sciatis, and especially, our previous Rebecca Lukens Award recipients, Carol Davidson on behalf of her mother, Nancy Hannum, Tammy Miles, Regina Horton-Lewis, Molly Morrison, Francis Sheehan, Janet Klein, and tonight, I know we have Barbara Cohen, and I believe Mary Ann Rossi is here tonight, but I haven't seen her yet, so maybe not. But I really want to thank each one of them for their personal time and dedication and energy in bringing tonight's annual celebration and making it such a success. So I really do appreciate everybody's help there. And I do want to say, I know most of you know Jean DiOrio, and this is probably the first event in 20 years that I've been with the Greystone Society that Jean has not been here at an event. And if everybody if you know him personally, just maybe give him a call up at Freedom Village and just wish him well. That would mean a lot to us all here tonight. Really, without his efforts, I don't know if the Greystone Society or the museum, Iron and Steel Museum, would exist. So I owe a lot to Mr. DiOrio for that dedication and his efforts. He really means a lot. I do want to get into just a couple of the brief, again, business things, are that the Rebecca Lukens Award was established by the Greystone Society to honor an individual who exemplifies the qualities of Rebecca Lukens, the nation's first female industrialist. She's credited with being so due to her many independent business holdings, not only the Brandywine Iron and Nail Company, but also she had a separate distribution and shipping business, a farm, other real estate holdings, and she worked together. There were many women, Quaker women in iron at the time, but she's credited with being the first industrialist for having different holdings. It's nice to recognize that. We use that story to, I always joke, to dust her off, bring her out, and celebrate or highlight her accomplishments as well as her difficulties. It's an amazing journey that I'm sure we all go through, the highs and lows of the daily grind. But we really wanted to use her as an example to celebrate a modern day woman of success, and we're happy to do that tonight with Sandra. So, we wanted to honor specifically a couple qualities of Rebecca Lukens that I'll just get into. She was obviously a mother, a businesswoman, and a philanthropist. And the qualities that we all gathered were, there were quite a lot, but we kind of tried to nail it down to resilience, leadership, courage, and strategic outlook. And just a couple examples are that Rebecca managed the firm successfully in the 1800s. I encourage all of you to look into her story more if you aren't familiar with it. But the Panic of 1837, lots of businesses were going down. She had rebuilt the plant and managed the company through the 1837 panic. And she didn't lay off any men. She just repurposed them to other businesses. And that just shows some leadership where she needed to keep a cool head and lead a group of men in very demanding work of shaping iron. And her leadership really, through that time, helped the firm survive, literally, and when many others failed. She was resilient. The story, obviously, she has her husband pass away and her 2 young sons. But she was also taken to court over water rights by men. She had limited rights. She couldn't vote. And just the courage to stand up for not only herself and her family, but also the people here that were working for her. It's a little joke that she took the Coleman family to court, and they were at the time the premier iron producers of pig iron. And it just so happens that my wife is descended from the Colemans. And so I just joke with my kids that, well, your great-great-grandmother sued your great-great-grandfather, and she won. And so I always enjoy that stuff, especially around the holidays. And courage. Courage is a tremendous thing. Rebecca, as I said, Rebecca's father dies in 1824. One son passes away very young in 1825, and her husband passes away the same year in 1825. And just the courage to not go back into the benevolent Quaker widowhood society, but really, she's pregnant and 31 with 4 children, and she stands out there near Gateway Park, and she as the workers are leaving, she literally is out there and telling them, no, we can run this. She's educated, she's capable, and it really took courage for her to then be out there up front and lead by example and carry on the business. And then lastly, strategic outlook. I think everybody has to have a little bit of a larger contextual picture. Rebecca wasn't just selling local iron locally in the Philadelphia region. She had established selling agents in Boston and New York, all the way to Cincinnati and New Orleans. And so just really, it's a larger outlook. And so those are the qualities and some examples of Rebecca, and we'll hear from Rebecca in a little bit. Just want to go through the process. Too soon to make jokes about the Sixers? No. That was heartbreaking. So anyway, the process really starts in the winter, where we put it out and try and get some nominations, and we've had some great feedback. The group gets together in January around Rebecca's birthday, which is January 6th, and we get together in January. It's a tough time, with the weather, but we get together, honor Rebecca's birthday, and really and talk about Rebecca, and then try and get the group nominations and filter through the applicants and the candidates that are proposed. we take a little bit of time to settle that down. The recipient is notified, and then we meet during Women's History Month, which is in March, and that's a nice time again to talk about Rebecca, women's issues, and things like that, and as well then invite the recipient for lunch to get to know her a little bit better, and then it culminates with tonight. Tonight is a great celebration where we all come together as a community and really reflect back on what was and where we've been and where we are and where we have to go. And I think every one of us understands that there's work to be done, and we are encouraged by that. And it's also Historic Preservation Month, May, so it kind of ties in nicely with our what we're doing here. And I invite everybody to come back, learn a little bit more about Rebecca. Her house is down the street, and that's where she lived and worked and raised a family and managed the responsibilities that at that time just must have been tremendous, and it's a true encouragement story. We'll also hear tonight from Barbara Cohen, and then we'll move into Barbara and then Sandra, and then I think we'll have elected officials make presentations and awards. So I think at that time, I will let Susanna Brody take us back into time a little bit and hear from Rebecca. Okay? Thank you.
Well, it's quite pleasant to all gather here in this beautiful location. It wasn't always that way. My husband, Dr. Charles Lukens, and I came here to Brandywine Iron Works in 1816 with our two little girls, 2-year-old Martha and our baby Elizabeth. Everything was in dilapidated condition about the house, mill, and farm. Repairs were constantly needed, and we bore the whole expense. My husband was quite discouraged. In fact, we discussed the idea of returning to Philadelphia and having Charles reestablish his medical practice there. But we suffered through that. I often told my father, I thought it scarce right that we should have so much to do, that the ironworks should have been put in good working order before we came. Charles was determined, though, to make a success of it. By 1818, we had another child, Charles, our beautiful son. And at that time, my husband refitted the ironworks to roll boilerplate. Now, this was quite risky, for it was a whole new branch of the iron industry, but Charles had high hopes for its success. But I remember those years as difficult times. Natural disasters that interfered with our success, but most of all, deep personal losses. Does he know that my husband, Dr. Charles Lukens, was the first iron master in America to successfully roll commercial boilerplate? Still, the challenges involved in refitting the mill to roll plate, it was quite difficult and quite expensive. Our son Isaac was born in 1821, but died before his first birthday. Isabella was born not long after his death. It was about that same time that a spring freshet destroyed our dam that held the water that powered the mill. We had to completely rebuild the dam, replace the water wheels, replace the pinion housings, the other casings, and other equipment at the mill. And that, too, was quite expensive. Charles borrowed from my father to see that we could accomplish all of that. So we were struggling in a brand new business. In 1824, my father, Isaac Pennock, died. His will did not clearly state that the ironworks would be left to me, as he had promised. The following year, 1825, we lost our son, Charles. His death had a devastating effect on my health, and I soon learned I was expecting another child. And then June, that same year, I lost my dear and excellent husband and commenced my bitter, lonely struggle with life. This parting by death is a sorrowful thing for those that are left behind to mourn the loss of what was so important to them. I will not dwell on my feelings back then. When I looked around me, there was difficulty and danger on every side. I was left with a promise I made to my dying husband. Charles asked me to continue with the ironworks, and I promised to at least try. I think I must have possessed some energy of character, for I look back on it now and wonder at my daring. My mother thought, as a female, I was unfit to carry on such a concern. But I firmly but respectfully explained to her why I must make the attempt. I urged the duty I had to my daughters, the promise I made to my dying husband, and that in a short while, the ironworks would be mine, according to Father's will. We struggled and struggled through those early days. But with the help of my brother-in-law, Solomon Lukens, we survived. And I have now completely rebuilt the mill, made improvements to the mansion house, built substantial tenant houses for my workers, and made improvements to the farm. And with the advent of the railroad, our market has now expanded. Now our business is dull enough and competition is all around us. But I have built a superior mill, and our product now stands at the top of the market. Well, I'm afraid I'm rambling now. That happens to me whenever I look back and reminisce. But we're not here for me this evening. We're here to honor another woman of courage and forward thinking. And for that, I will return you to my great, great, great grandson.
Thank you, great-great-great-grandmother. You look great for being born in the 1790s, so it's amazing. It's amazing, modern medicine. Yes, you know, again, I just want to, highlight how it is. It's great to see everybody here tonight and come together to celebrate this. And it is really about taking the past. And it's good and it's bad, and keeping it relevant and in front of us, because again, it really recognizes, how far we've come and where we are and where we're going. I do have a speech tonight, it will be, a little one. I'm going to pass on that, I guess. But I do want to get out of the way. It's an honor to have everybody here tonight. I really thank everybody for being here. And I would like to bring up Barbara Cohen. Barbara is the 2016 recipient of the Rebecca Lukens Award, a driving force. If you've met her, you will know that for sure. Anywhere, and especially in Phoenixville. Barbara's fingerprints are all over the revitalization of Phoenixville. I, of course, have a strong affinity for the work that she's done at the Phoenix Foundry and the mural that is undertaking, and just a real spirit. Her work at the Phoenixville Phoenixville Area Economic Development Corporation, and the years and years that she spent not only benefiting Phoenixville, but our county. And so, without further ado, I just want to bring up Barbara. Thank you for the things that you've done, and you have worked with Sandra, so I really, I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Sandra. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Scott, I appreciate your saying those lovely things, but all the good ideas in the world go nowhere. It's a team effort of bringing people on board. So it's like, okay, I'll say I'm Phoenixville's mom, trying to get everybody to do the right thing. And in many cases they have. And I want to pick up on one word in your statement, community. Because as we work to celebrate 300 years of iron and steel making in 2016, you go beyond your backyard and look out over the entire county, and you realize it's not just one place or another along the way. It is all of us together that created the scene that we have today. So I want to thank you for being part of all this as well. And where's Jim Ziegler? Because he deserves a plus, too, for bringing us all together as we have been. You talked about the things that Rebecca Lukens stood for. Persistence, perseverance, passion, amongst the other things. These are the criteria, or some of them, I should say, for the Rebecca Lukens Award. This kind of commitment has been Sandy Mommyer's way of doing things for a very long time, and actually has led to the fourth P in this alliterative phrase, and that word is preservation. So persistence, perseverance, passion, and preservation. They all go together to describe Sandy and her commitment. In 1986, she began her 15-year tenure as the executive director of Historic Yellow Springs. And it was her leadership and commitment that resulted in the preservation and conservation and adaptive reuse of this extraordinary historic property. Her work included an easement protection program, worked with and developed with the National Lands Trust, and many restoration projects within historic Yellow Springs Village that included 3 spring houses that actually sheltered the mineral waters for which historic Yellow Springs was known. She also worked to restore the ruins of the 18th century Revolutionary War hospital. It has a medical herb garden that interprets the medicine of that era. Think of what this means to the kids who visit there today. She's also authored a book about historic Yellow Springs, and after she retired, she wasn't done yet. After her retirement, Sandy returned to historic Yellow Springs, and she continues even now to manage and care for the archival collection that is there at historic Yellow Springs. That's just one chapter. In 2004, she joined the newly established Schuylkill Township Historic Commission as a volunteer, and then in 2007 became the chair of the commission, which continues even now. She has continued in this leadership role to make sure that the historic integrity of the township is a vital part of its identification. Sandy also helped to rewrite the Township Historic Preservation Ordinance, making it more comprehensive and inclusive, and making sure that the township has options to legally oppose someone who wants to, let's say, tear a building down that we all didn't want to have happen. But to make sure that every development project does things the right way. The Historic Commission reviews all the projects. The Historic Commission makes sure that historic structures are saved and adaptively reused in the appropriate way. This is extraordinary. The Historic Commission has also been very active in preserving an early 20th century trolley station in Valley Park, which the township acquired a few years ago through our open space program. And again, it's not just about the land or the trail or the waterway. It's about the historic structure there that gives people a reason to visit. Aside from the recreation, they feel something akin to what happened in the township. Before there were cars to get them on Route 23, it was the trolley that transported them through the township. Once again, the township's historic properties that have been at the top of Sandy's agenda for many years. She also often writes articles for the Phoenixville Region magazine that is sponsored by the Phoenixville Area School District. And this is distributed to the borough of Phoenixville and East Pikeland and Schuylkill townships. So someone reading that publication has the opportunity to be educated. So it's not just people who might come out to a meeting from time to time, but everyone who sits down with this publication, thanks to Sandy, can be educated about the historic treasures that are all through Chester County and in our area. Sandy has been the vice president of the Schuylkill River Heritage Center since its founding in 2006. Her board support and leadership still continues. She always shares important and insightful ideas about activities that we have and the governance at the Heritage Center. When the Schuylkill River Heritage Center developed an app, your mobile phone will tell you as you're driving through all the way from Royersford to Valley Forge Park and west from Montclair. Yes, we crossed the border to Montgomery County, but all the way from Montclair to historic Yellow Springs and the mill in Anselma. Who wrote about historic Yellow Springs and the mill in Anselma, as well as the places in Schuylkill Township? It was Sandy who wrote those parts of the history app that your Android or your iPhone will ping when you pass by and tell you about those places. Sandy came up with an idea early this year. We have every year a Heritage Award celebration honoring somebody who's contributed to the heritage of the area. And back in January, Sandy said, what about Dr. Lou Beccaria? This was Sandy's idea. And I'm sure many of you know Lou because of his ties to Coatesville. We loved it. And so, mark your calendars, because thanks to Sandy, our 10th annual Heritage Award celebration will honor Dr. Louis Beccaria on October 10th this year. And I don't know if he's here yet, but it's also Senator Andy Dinniman's birthday on October 10th. So, in any case, but again, it's bright ideas, it's love of what you're doing, and that passion that goes with it that makes a difference. Sandy graduated from Cabrini College. She had outstanding honors, and she now serves on their alumni board. Her subject majors, get this combo, American Studies, Arts Administration, English, and Communication. She scores high in all of them, and yes, she graduated cum laude. In any case, Sandy is an outstanding example of somebody who has given back to the regional community using all of her skills for everyone's benefit. I'm proud to be the one to share this information with all our guests this evening. Sandy, it's my honor to congratulate you and obviously to work with you very closely. That was a Biden hug.
Yes, thank you so much, Barbara. Barbara and I have worked together. I think it's almost 25 years, Barbara, that we have worked together. And so a thank you to her, but a very special thank you to the Greystone Society for awarding me the Rebecca Lukens Award. I must tell you that when Jim Ziegler called me to tell me that, I was just so shocked, overwhelmed, and actually breathless. To be considered in the realm of Rebecca and the other women named for this award is extraordinary, and I appreciate it so much. I have always strived to do the right thing in the best way possible and to move forward with integrity and commitment, and to be awarded for this really makes it special. As an American Studies major, one of my majors at Cabrini University, I was sent to complete an internship at historic Yellow Springs. And it was a small organization at that time, and it was beginning to expand its growth and needed assistance. At graduation, I was hired to be their first executive director, to work with its board and take it into its next phase of becoming part of the historic fabric of our county and region, as well as rehabilitation of its historic structures. And we did that. Now, meantime, let me take a little break and take us back to the 1960s for a moment. We remember that preservation was not always a popular topic. And thanks to the passage of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, that changed. People began organizing to save and preserve our historic heritage. Noted was the description of one of these groups. They were called the Little Ladies in White Sneakers. Now, some of you probably remember that if you were active in the 1960s. Yes, they marched. They held up banners, they presented before governments. The women did it. The Little Ladies in White Sneakers. And so today we're so pleased to have so many women and men working to save our heritage. And it is this village, if you will, of people who have been so supportive and helpful to me. And I am just so glad to be a part of all of them as we work to preserve the communities around us. How can I ever thank the late Jane Davidson? She was our county heritage director at the time, and when I was at Yellow Springs and new to the job, she took me under her wing, and she took me into what Senator Dinniman calls Jane's Army. And some of you know about that. And so we all worked together. She was there to guide me, and she invited Yellow Springs to participate in county programs. She pulled us into the Chester County Historic Preservation Network 30 years ago, and that support to Chester County has been invaluable. I have met so many, like I know Jim Garrison, Sue Marshall, who's here tonight, Bob Wise, Seth, Jane Dorchester, and actually too many to name because I've worked with them for so many years. And it's just been quite a joy to do that. And whenever we had problems, we could call them. They came, they helped us, they came to our meetings, and it's really been a very strong help to all of us. Today I work with Karen Marshall, and Karen's here too. Thank you, Karen, who is also so important to our work, and we have enjoyed partnering with her. Yellow Springs was part of the Civil War celebration for Chester County several years ago, and then, of course, as Barbara mentioned, the 300-year anniversary of Iron and Steel in Pennsylvania. Karen did something different. She brought all of us together as one partnership in the county. And we got to know each other. We got to work together and share a lot of things together. And it got me introduced to the Iron and Steel Museum right here. We had many a meeting in this very building, so it was very important. In fact, the National Park Service is a partner in our Iron and Steel program, and David is here tonight. Thank you, David. And so it's been just a huge group of diverse people, but getting to know each other, getting to work together. And we thank Karen for all that you do individually for us and collaboratively. I think in today's world of preservation, the word collaboration and partnership are really the top terms to be used. And Karen has been very successful in doing that for all of us in the county. Thank you. Then there's no way to begin to name and thank all the wonderful people whom I have worked with at Yellow Springs over the years. I am so enriched and thankful to be part of the board's staff, members, volunteers, and patrons for over 35 years. Together, we make a difference, and we continue to do so. The village, its 140 acres, its 10 historic structures, the environment, the art, the history dating back to 1722. We put Yellow Springs on the map. Oh, the stories we could tell doing that, I won't tell you tonight. There is just no other village like it. And I want to thank Karen Walter, our executive director. Karen's here, and we have, I don't think it's quite a quorum for a board meeting, but we have a wonderful selection of board members from Yellow Springs, and thank you for being here as well. So thank you to all of you for helping me with my job in the beginning and continuing into the archival job that I host now. And I know together we just continue to move forward in new ways, and it's exciting. The Chester County Landscapes Programs has also been important for preservation in our county, and all of us that live here understand the long and deep history, and they have preserved that for us as part of their plan as they move forward as well. And so it's important for all of us to be very appreciative of working and living in this county. Working as chair of the Historical Commission for Schuylkill Township allows me to work with our Board of Supervisors, and I must thank Fred Perry for being here tonight. He's been a wonderful mentor to me and so supportive, and just an example of a fine person to follow. And so we work on the commission for the culture of our township to preserve it so that our residents have a quality of life living there. Most of you know that working with townships can be quite difficult. We persevere, we move forward. In fact, we were awarded the Grace Under Fire Award by the network in 2017. So you know what kind of work goes on in Schuylkill Township. But I do want to thank everyone in Schuylkill Township, and I'm honored to work with all of you to achieve our goals where we live. And I have lived in Schuylkill Township for 51 years, so it's an important thing for me. Barbara Cohen mentioned our Schuylkill River Heritage Center, and I do serve on that board with Barbara and a diverse group of people that are just extraordinary as well, interpreting the ironworks, the Schuylkill River, and now we're providing the Phoenix Mural and Renaissance Park for the borough. Our board brings forth a group of like-minded individuals who believe in the past, but also living that past in a contemporary downtown community, and it's worked so well. And I think we've and educated people to the history of the borough of Phoenixville, which is extraordinary. Now, are you following the path I'm taking you on? It's so important to know that it is the people who matter as we all work together as collaborations, partnerships, teams, boards, staffs, grassroots organizations. We get the job done, and we preserve our history doing it. And today is different in another way. We are no longer the ladies in white sneakers looking to save a house or a barn or some building here and there. That was another time. Today, we're very busy and in the business of saving communities, villages, hamlets, and the value they embody. It's just much larger. I think Barbara pointed out the larger community that we all live in. And that is really what all of us have been doing. And thank you to all who have been there for me and stepped up to help me do what I do. I hope I have provided the same support to all of you. We do these things because it is the right thing to do. Preservation is a part of all of our lives, yours and mine, and let us continue to be active partners. And now I'll get down from my soapbox. You know, you should never give a preservationist a forum. Thank you to the Greystone Society and all of you who have been part of my life. Friends who are here tonight, family members, and colleagues, I share this award with you. One does not do this alone. So let's stay diligent and strong and follow Rebecca Lukens' tenacity and fortitude, and we will continue to succeed. And by the way, Jim, I'm still overwhelmed and breathless to be honored for this wonderful award. Let me close with a quote from writer John Steinbeck. And he wrote, "How will we know it is us without our past?" Thank you.
Present. The award consists of a number of different things. One is that we will have each recipient's name is on a plaque that is attached to a model of Rebecca's mill, and we keep that present. We also and tonight's a nice celebration, but we also have just a brief certificate that we'd like to give you. So maybe, and Barbara, that'd be great if you could come up. You can come up. And do you have the piece of yeah, I got it. Paper. Sure, it's the right one? Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. Come around.
Take her back.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I know who you are by now. I feel like this is my second home.
Well, Sandra, tonight we present to you the, 2019 Rebecca Lukens Award. So congratulations. Yeah. So don't go too far because I know Jim is going to marshal us through some of the elected officials. Oops, sorry, Barbara. And other presentations and certificates.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have some special presentations that our local dignitaries would like to have. First, we'll hear from the City of Coatesville President, Linda Lavender Norris. Linda?
Good evening, all. It is my pleasure to be here this evening, and especially to honor you this evening, and thank you for all your good work. I have a certificate here. It says, in recognition of your commitment to local preservation and the history of Chester County, the City of Coatesville Council extends their appreciation to Sandra Momyer, awarded this 15th day of May, 2019. And on behalf of my colleagues, I see Mr. Folks. I don't know if any of the other ones are in the back or not, but we just want to say thank you for all you've done, and we wish you continued success.
Oh, well,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next on the docket is a presentation by Karen Marshall on behalf of the Chester County Commissioners, specifically Michelle Kickline. Karen?
So I have to tell everybody, I'm really glad that Commissioner Kickline couldn't be here tonight, because after Sandy's speech, she would have dropped me like a hot potato. So my name is Karen Marshall, and I'm the Heritage Preservation Coordinator for Chester County. I am here at the request of another resilient woman, like Rebecca Lukens, who is a leader in her community. Michelle Kickline was scheduled to be here this evening. I don't know if you all are aware of the fact that she lost her dad earlier in the week, and she has had to curtail a lot of her activities. But I wanted to make this statement because I could tell that this award meant a lot to her, because the office tracked me down on my day off yesterday. I don't know how they got my cell phone. But anyway, it was very clear that Commissioner Kickline wanted somebody, well, I guess I'm the person in the county who works most closely with our municipalities and works specifically for historic preservation, to honor you, Sandy. And so I just wanted to say that. I actually haven't been asked to do this before, and I think it really meant a great deal to the commissioner, and I wanted you to know that. And she's been supportive to me at other times. So I know Sandy shares many of the traits with Rebecca. She's a colleague and a friend, she described. You have high standards for yourself, and you are kind to some of us who might fall a little short. I don't know if you ever were kind to people, Rebecca, if they fell short, were you? She never, ever says never. And this is one of the hallmarks. I came here 12 years ago on the heels of Jane Ellis Davidson. It was remarkable to discover that there were a fairly small group of significant leaders in this community who are largely responsible for all the historic places and open spaces, as Senator Dinniman likes to say. And Sandy's one of them, and I see a number of them in this room. It's just an honor to. I actually feel, I work for all of you. Sandy is not afraid of confrontation. She is confident in her integrity and judgment, and believe me, I have seen her in a couple tough places. So I love to see the two women sitting here together, strong, resilient, loving, caring for their communities. But there's one thing that I don't think Rebecca shared with you, and that is that Sandy has a smile, you may have all noticed, that just lights up the room whenever she enters it. She always gives me courage that whatever we're doing will succeed. And so, Sandy, it's with great honor that I present from the County of Chester the citation from the Board of Commissioners of the County of Chester congratulating Sandra Momyer as the recipient of the Greystone Society's 2019 Rebecca Lukens Award, honoring individuals who exhibit the qualities of resilience, loyalty, caring, practicality, insightfulness, tenacity, resourcefulness, and patience. And I think the first sentence, the citation goes on to talk about what's in your program, but the first sentence I think just says it all. Sandra Momyer is an archivist and local preservationist who has devoted most of her life to preserving the history of the people, places, and heritage of Chester County. Thereby, the Board of Commissioners, County of Chester, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, recognizes the many contributions made and accomplishments achieved by Sandra Momyer that have benefited and will continue benefiting the citizens of Chester County for many generations, signed by the Board of Commissioners Michelle Kickline, Kathy Cazzone, and Terrence Farrell. Congratulations. Did we do that right?
Next, I'd like to introduce State Representative Dan Williams' on his behalf, Ricky Campbell. Ricky?
Rebecca Lukens was a display of courage. She was exemplary in her deployment of the world of business. And she has even paved the way for women today, such as Sandra Momyer. So, on behalf of the House of Representatives, and on behalf of our current state representative, Dr. Dan K. Williams, and on behalf of the state of Pennsylvania, I present you, Sandra Momyer, with a placard from the state of Pennsylvania and the House of Representatives. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ricky. Senator Andy Dinniman is unable to attend this evening, but he was kind enough to have a citation prepared by the State Senate for you, Sandy, and I will present it to you on his behalf. And also, we do have a citation from Governor Tom Wolf, signed by Governor Wolf, and so I would like to present this to you on their behalf. And now we have United States Senator Pat Toomey's represented here tonight by Amber Little Turner. Amber?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Sandra, you talked about that village, and I am just grateful that you're a part of our village, and we stand on the shoulders of great women that have come before us. So on behalf of United States Senator Pat Toomey, thank you very much, and we would like to present you, of course, with our citations.
Well, again, I really want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We talked a lot about historic preservation in buildings, and they're fine, they're lovely, they're nice when you put a lot of work into them. But they mean nothing without people, community, and everyone here. I know that there's a lot of people here with connections to, the steel company or Coatesville, but these places really don't matter unless we get the story out about who was here and what they did. Family, but labor, people, the family of Lukens, the workers. It's interesting. I met a person last night, and they had a friend, and he has a son, or the friend is working in the plant, and it's quickly I went to share, and I was like, "Do you know these?" "Oh yeah, that's Mike's son." And it's just it's a real special place. So in that vein, we're working hard to develop an exhibit on the labor and the people that really worked in the plant and fought the Industrial Revolution on the floor. I hope that everybody gets a chance to go to the Chester County Historic Society and see a great exhibit called I Am Coatesville Steel, which will be there for a little while. And when we bring that back, we really just appreciate the people that have made this place such a fabulous story. It wouldn't be without the steel workers that this, and it's a true partnership and a true family. When they talk about family, we really talk about all the families, from all over that really, make this place, work. Just a quick couple other things before I let you go. We do have a couple programs. There'll be a live blacksmith demonstration, which should be popular. I think that's June 1st. And then as well, Primitive Hall, another historic house, and we are going to historic Yellow Springs. So that will be a nice trip. But again, I just really wanted to thank you for taking the time to be with us here tonight to honor Sandra. So again, Sandra, thank you very much for everything you've done to make Chester County such a wonderful place to be. So thank you, Sandy, and thank you all for coming.
Down for the city council. There's